What is up, guys? Win conditions are probably one of the most important aspects of climbing the ladder. It's really what can separate like two players of the same mechanical skill, but one will be a higher ranking. To put it short, it's like how to win a game, like going into game with a plan. Now I keep saying that maining one champion will let you climb quicker, right? And it's kind of part of why. There is one side where you learn their damage, their combos get easier to do, like the mechanical side, but another part is this, like you learn how to win with that champion, and you learn specifically what you need to do at different stages of the game to win. So if you think about Shaco, or Shaco, however you want to say it, he's always a pain to deal with, right? Because he has this set early game plan. You know he's probably going to invade you, he's already got that idea in his head of what he's going to do. That's why he's so dangerous. He's already thought about what he needs to do to get ahead and has a specific idea or focus when he goes into the game. Now win conditions isn't just specific to your champion, you can actually use it for the entire team comp, and that's ideally what you would do. And this process we'll look at is what LCS teams basically do when they make a new comp. They figure out what their strengths are, when in the game they spike, what their comp is good at, and what they need to do to win the game. Best example of this is actually Corki, and especially with the Korean teams. If you watched IEM, you would have seen this a lot, every time a Korean team picked Corki. So they play pretty passive at the start of the game. They tend to just farm, and as soon as Corki gets his Triforce, they will group, they'd fight and push down towers, because that is when their team comp suddenly has a massive surge in power. The best way to teach you this stuff is to show you examples of what a game plan or win conditions actually look like. And when you're doing this for your favorite champions, you'll realize that you actually know a lot of this stuff and you're doing it already, but it helps with the champions you don't play as much, or just to have a reference to go back to in game. So when I did the maining the champion video, I did a template and it actually went down really well. You guys said you used it a lot and it kind of gave you an idea of what you should be doing properly that you could take and do yourself. So I've done the same here. We're looking at 3 different stages of the game, and this is the easiest way to break your win conditions down. So early really refers to the lane phase. Basically mid game is going to refer to the end of the lane phase and the start of when you're grouping, and late game is going to be grouping and objectives, so like team fights. The other thing that I haven't actually mentioned that is good about doing this is it really helps you when you get behind, because you know your limits and you know what your focus is and how you want to win, so you have a specific idea of what you can actually do when you get behind, and you can still win those games. Okay, so we're going to go over 2 champions from the top lane, and we're going to go over 2 champions from the mid lane as well. And these 2 champions are completely different in their win conditions, so you can kind of see the contrast between champions. Alright, so let's start off with Hecarim, and early you want to harass and you want to try and get a kill with that ignite. Remember what I said before in my last video, you take TP and ignite so that you can get an advantage in lane. Now when you have that advantage, you don't want to be TPing back to your lane anymore. You can run there because you rush your boots and you have your E quickly anyway, so there's no point teleporting to lane. This is when you want to use your TP to gank bot lane, or you want to push your lane and you want to roam down to the mid and try and use that big AoE ultimate of yours to get some kills and snowball. When you're moving into the late game, you want to use your home guard TP to start fights. Like that's a really cool thing that Hecarim does, is because he's so fast, he can TP to the side, run in, attack the carries, and there's not much they can do to stop it. The final thing is what to do when you're behind. So you don't really have any outplay potential. Like Hecarim is a very simplistic mechanical champion. You just kind of run at people and press your Q. So you want to roam and create advantages. Now if we look at another top champion in Jax, early game you want to trade when your E is up, otherwise you just farm until 6. Jax isn't really an early powerhouse like Hecarim, so you want to adjust your playstyle. At level 6 though, there aren't really too many people who can actually outtrade you if you do it properly, so you auto attack minions twice and then you auto them for the empowered hit and trade. Jax is interesting as well, and the reason I picked him is because you have a choice here in the mid game. You either build to split push or you build to team fight. So if you want a team fight, you get your Triforce and then you go tanky so that you can actually withstand the enemy carries. Otherwise you want to build split push, which is like Triforce, Bathe the Ruin King for great one-on-one potential. Late game you want to push your side lanes and take towers, TP to fights when they happen, or if you're left alone just take the enemy nexus. Jax pushes really hard and it forces teams to choose whether to go to him and stop them and give up something for the rest of your team, or focus on your team and give up something for you. Now when you get behind on Jax, it's actually a complete opposite of Hecarim. You don't need to panic, you'll just farm, you'll get to a point where you'll win 1v1 eventually anyway, and you do outscale pretty much everyone, so you don't really need to roam and make plays, you just want to sit there and catch back up. So let's move on to the mid game. We're going to be using Katarina and LeBlanc, two completely different champions. Now the early game for Katarina, you want to be farming as much as you can. You farm and harass the enemy with your Q if possible and just try and survive. Mid game you want to push your lane and roam, or sometimes just even roam because you don't need many items to do huge damage, but your ganks are really effective because of your E and your resets. Late game you want to be looking for team fights around objectives. You're pretty bad at sieging, but you're great at all-in team fights, and objectives are the best place to do this, so buy a sweeper, take away vision and force the enemy to come to you. If you get behind on Katarina, you just want to roam even more, because as I said, you don't need many items to do damage, so you can still be effective at ganking, but you can't really do anything in your own lane. So now going from Katarina, who is kind of a passive laner, to LeBlanc, who is a really aggressive laner. Early game you want to be auto-attacking the wave as much as possible so it doesn't get under your tower, and then harass with your Q and W and look for kills. Mid game your job is to be killing people. This is where you really spike and where you're strongest. You either want to push and roam, or you want to freeze and kill your opponent. Late game you'll be looking for picks. You're not really great in a full 5-on-5 like Katarina unless you're really fed. So you're really looking to push advantages early, control objectives like Dragon and Baron, and get towers. You don't really have the best late game until it's really super late and everyone has 6 items. The what to do when behind for LeBlanc is actually similar to Katarina. You have a good amount of damage, so you just want to roam and try and kill people. The difference here though is with LeBlanc you won't be doing that great late game, so you want to be snowballing as hard as possible, whereas Katarina can kind of just take it easy and farm and roam at the same time, and she doesn't have to worry about snowballing as hard. So there you have it. There are 4 examples and they're all extremely different. Like the top laners are completely different playstyles, and it shows you why win conditions and figuring them out before the game are so important, because there are specific things you need to do on those champions to win the game. Hopefully this gives you an idea of why win conditions are so important and how to figure them out for your own champion pool as well. If you do struggle, then please leave some comments below. Tweeting me is probably the best because I'm most active on Twitter, or you can Facebook message me as well. But that's all for this video, so make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.